Hey, this is Henry and Pierre from Balu Brigada, and we're going to be taking you through the making of some of our tracks on SoundCloud's voice notes.
So Cold is a song that we wrote in the fall of 2023. We were living in New York.
Yes.
In a sublet in Harlem. We were super inspired by early kind of indie rock 2000s acts like The Strokes, Franz Ferdinand, and Jack White. So we wanted to try something in a similar vein.
It kind of started with the bass line, right? Like, that was kind of the first thing that kind of popped out and like really made us want to pursue it, just because it has so much swagger and sass. Interestingly enough, that's not actually a bass line, and it's actually a synth with a bunch of guitars stacked around it, right? I mean, you're the one to produce that. You probably can...
Yeah. It's like 17 layers or something stupid. It's a. If we're gonna get nerdy and specific, it was a Monarch synth bass patch, and then two guitars panned left and right, and then pitched down an octave, thus creating a sort of unique blend of a bass tone, which we were quite wrapped with.
And that was kind of the pillar that started the song, and we followed it, and that's how we ended up with So Cold.
What do we ever really know? I remember we made in the summertime in New Zealand in a little regional town called Kaiwaka. And the sun was out, and we had bought all this gear to bring to this little holiday home from a friend of ours, and we just kind of locked in and tried to write the second half of the album. I remember when we started this song, Henry came up with the main guitar riff, and I was on the bass line. And what was interesting was that the guitar riff was so good that you could kind of go, like, approach it many different ways harmonically. And then we ended up settling on what became, the part of the song. Yeah, there were a few different like melody ideas like that we had for the vocals.
Yeah, I think we like decided that we wanted to do this kind of apocalyptic kind of idea. So
that was when that chuggy bass line came in.
Yeah, because the bass did sound so heavy. So we wanted to try and like get this contrast of like kind of a fun boppy song, but actually have this like deep heavy weight to it, which is what turned into the like apocalyptic tune that it is.
Backseat is a song that we wrote coming off the back of the North American leg touring with 21 Pilots. I think it was one of the first ideas we bashed out. We were in New York. It was a pretty intense time getting back into the swing of normal life, and that being New York as well. Yeah, maybe the energy of New York was something to do with the way Backseat turned out on the day, would you say?
Yeah, it's really stompy and aggressive and urgent and sassy. Yeah. Which is like all things that I think we both feel like New York has the energy of. Once we kind of got like the version of that bass line again, I guess.
Down.
Once we got a bit of that stomping, I think we just rode the wave from there. I remember at the end of the writing session, the only lyric Pierre and I had was from the Backseat. And then we tasked ourselves in the next kind of month to find out what the heck that meant.
What could that mean?
So when we were back in New Zealand, we kind of locked in again together and figured out a theme and a way to make a 6-minute saga that it is. Sideways is a song that came about, probably the first one beyond So Cold in the Question. That's right. We went into the studio and had to play around with some guitars that weren't ours and just saw what we could make in the day because we're actually still on tour. So we only had a day that we could experiment. And I think a lot of the energy came off the back of us playing a bunch of shows with the 21 Pilots boys and just figuring out what tempos were fun and how you could get energy into it. We essentially just did some classical Balu natured things where we just throw everything at the wall with some guitars, and Pierre makes some weird sounds that sound a bit like a duck. Eventually we stumbled upon like the bass sound in that, and then Pierre had this really nice drum groove going, and then I was just kind of whacking away at this bass keyboard. And then it made a kind of fun bounce that we kind of launched. We just energized the rest of the writing session. And memorably, I remember both me and Pierre went for a run the day after in New Jersey, at Liberty Park, I think it was, or it's called something like that. And the bounce or the export of the demo sounded awful,
but like a microwave.
Sounded so loud and distorted, and to anyone else it would have sounded awful. But I think both me and Pierre, well, I know because I remember locking eyes with Pierre on the run and being like, this is gonna be sick. No one else can hear this, but it's gonna be sick. And so we spent a while just figuring out how to make the song a real song that wasn't microwaved.